Alright everybody, welcome back. So the third installment of my series is on a plane that we actually know is coming, the Gripen. Gaijin confirmed the Gripen was planned for this year, and, well, this is the last patch of the year, so it has to come this time around. Also, quite a few of you asked me to do this next, so without further ado, let's get right into it, shall we? So before we get started on the variants, I just want to say the Gripen is different than the other fighters I have covered so far. It wasn't actually designed to be the best of the best. So there's a sizable community of people who think it's the greatest thing ever, and I hope you don't get mad and cancel me because of this, but compared to other 4th generation fighters, it is actually weaker than most of them. That's because the largest consideration of real life for the Gripen was to keep costs down, as the vegan program was costly and almost cost Saab from being able to develop another fighter. They just barely got approved in the first place. The greatest advantage of the Gripen, in real life at least, is its low cost per hour to operate. But the thing is, that doesn't actually matter in game. It won't be terrible by any means, it's a lot better than the Vegan, but it's basically just a bit worse but cheaper F-16, at least in the case of the Gripen A and C. That does change the Gripen E, but we'll get to that later on. The JAS-39, or Gripen A as I'll be referring to it, just to keep things simple, is the first variant of the Gripen to enter service. Not as much is known about this version, and to be honest, there's not much known about the Gripen on the English internet in general, but I'll do my best with what we do have. The Gripen A has the weakest engine out of all the versions, although it's not much worse than the C, and considering that all the Gripens until the E are underpowered, this might be part of the reason Gaijin is skipping it for now. The Gripen A can use the AIM-9L, which is known as the RB-74 in Swedish service, and maybe the Sky Flash. So this is a little bit iffy. I was unable to find any info on production Gripens using them. So apparently the A model still had a CW illuminator, but I don't actually have any proof of that. It's just hearsay. And the Swedish government also did hold on to stockpiles of Sky Flashes after the Viggen was retired until the A model Gripens left service. Those two things together lead me to believe that yes, the A Gripens did still have CW illuminators, even if they didn't actually use Sky Flashes, but I'm not 100% sure. I was able to find a pre-production Gripens of Sky Flashes as seen here. If this is correct, I could see Gaijin adding it with Sky Flashes later if need be, and skipping on the AMRAAMs, but even if not, it is still compatible with the AMRAAM B, which is known as the RB-99 in Swedish service. It can carry 6 missiles total. All pylons are compatible with Sidewinders, only 4 are compatible with radar missiles, whether that be the possible Sky Flashes or the definite AMRAAM. One massive thing for Swedish players, however, is the capability for CAS. So unlike the Viggen, the Gripen doesn't require a dedicated attack version and is able to carry 4 AGM-65B Mavericks. While not as much fun as contemporary fighters from other nations, being able to carry 4 while not losing your gun or countermeasures like you currently do with the AJ and AGS Viggens is a massive step up. I personally think that if we are going to get the A model, it's going to come later as a rank 8 premium, whenever we get rank 9 in the Gripen E and other 4.5 gen fighters, but we are just going to have to see how things play out. Next is the JAS-39B, or Gripen B, and this one is nice and simple. Similar to the F-15 series, it's a combat-capable trainer. Now, unlike the F-15, the 2-seater gives up something in exchange. It's gun. I personally don't see this coming to the game due to this, but if it did, it would most likely be an event vehicle of some sort, perhaps at a lower BR due to the lack of a gun. Next, we have the JAS-39C, or the C Gripen. This is the version that was actually confirmed to be coming to War Thunder, and it was also the variant that was the most widely exported, so there's a couple countries you can talk about here as well, not just Sweden. The C Gripen would receive a new and slightly better engine, along with NATO compatibility, HMD, and a radar upgrade. Or should I say a lot of radar upgrades. Saab apparently likes constantly updating their radar software. The new engine really doesn't save its performance, as it still has below 1:1 thrust-to-weight ratio at 1/3 fuel with a 0.93 thrust-to-weight ratio, compared to 1:1 for the Mirage 2000C and 1.17 for the F-16. It has the worst thrust-to-weight of any 4th gen fighter, except for maybe the F-14A, and we already have the F-14B in-game anyways. The Gripen C does have good top speed, similar to that of the F-16C, and due to having lower drag, it does have a good zoom climb and supersonic acceleration as well. The problem is having low drag isn't enough to help it in a sustained turn, and an F-16 on full fuel still outturns a Gripen on half fuel. The Gripen is, however, very good at pulling AOA, and should perform well if you can stick to scissors or other one-circle engagements. Just don't commit to a sustained dogfight just like with other Deltas. This is not a super fighter. The weapons on the Gripen C are diverse to say the least, as it was spread to many nations. So I'm going to start with the Swedish armament and focus on the ones that we can actually expect to see in the game. It of course has the AIM-L and the AMRAAM-B just like we already had, but later would gain access to the Iris-T, which is known as the RB-98 in Swedish service, and the Meteor, known as the RB-101 missiles. Both of these are nowhere near coming, and to be honest, they will most likely come on a quote-unquote late Gripen C, or even just the Gripen E whenever they do, but it is something to note. There is a small chance that it may receive the AIM-M, as Czech Gripens did use the AIM-M, and the plane is compatible with NATO weapons, but I personally am hesitant to say they'll add it, as I believe they'll give it AMRAAMs and just stick to the historical loadout. I really don't see them adding a Gripen with Sidewinders and Skyflash a full year after the F-16 was introduced. Why would they have waited this long if not for AMRAAM? There was a small chance of it receiving Skyflash, and when I say small, I mean small. No Swedish Gripen Cs, as far as I can tell, ever had a CW illuminator, which means they couldn't actually guide SAR missiles. However, some export Gripens are able to be equipped with that CW illuminator. So in theory, it could be applied in Swedish service as well, which would allow it to guide the Skyflash. If Gaijin does decide to hold off on AMRAAM for now, I could maybe see them adding it with a temporary loadout of AIM-9M and Skyflash until they actually do go ahead and implement the AMRAAM. I do still think it'll be this patch. Gaijin hasn't confirmed nor denied that the AMRAAM is coming, so it's very possible, and honestly, personally, I still think it's going to, because they would have just denied if it wasn't going to. But on the off chance it doesn't, this is a possibility. So the Gripen C does also gain access to up to 4 paveway laser-guided bombs in case you either don't like Mavericks or need to operate at night. And speaking of, the Swedes never use any Mavericks higher than the B. So either Gaijin will have to do a little bit more ahistorical loadout, since it is still compatible with the DMAVs, or the Swedes will never get a Maverick that can work in the dark. So outside of Swedish service, there are currently 2 countries that have a chance of getting the Gripen C in-game. The Italians are very likely to get one whenever they receive their Hungarian tree, probably sometime next year, and the Brits may receive a South African C Gripen as well at some point. I personally doubt either of these nations will receive it this patch, as Gaijin will most likely want to make the Gripen exclusive to Sweden, but I could also be wrong. If they do receive them though, the South African Gripen could possibly receive the A Darter, which is a locally produced South African missile, but as of now, no combat-capable missiles have been produced, so that's iffy at best. The Swedish Gripen will go after the JA-37D, but as for the South African one, if we do actually get it, I'm unsure. My best guess will be after the FGR, though. The Gripen D is just like the Gripen B. It's a 2-seat combat-capable trainer with the gun removed. This is also a candidate for the new British top-tier fighter that was confirmed last update, as Gripen Ds have been leased to the Empire Test Pilot School, which is run by the British Ministry of Defense for years. So this is a possible candidate, but firstly, I really do believe that they're going to give Sweden a monopoly on the Gripen for at least one patch. And secondly, I pray they don't just give the Brits a heavier, gunless Gripen as their premier top jet. It'd be really funny, but I don't really want that to happen. If it was to come, event vehicle, though once again, I doubt it will. I don't see them adding a gunless Gripen. The final and most modern Gripen that we can expect to see in War Thunder is the Gripen E, and it brings a lot of changes. The biggest thing in terms of War Thunder is the new F414G engine, finally bringing its thrust-to-weight ratio above 1:1. This is huge for air-to-air combat capability, especially with a delta wing design. It also gains a much more powerful ESA radar, and apparently I was mispronouncing it the entire time in my F-15 video, sorry about that, and 10 hardpoints now. Now, one of these can't be used for ordnance, only for pods, but the other 9 are fully capable, and it can carry up to 7 AMRAAM or Meteor missiles, or up to 9 AIM-9L or Iris-T. This is proper 4.5 Gen fighter levels of armament, and while not as much as the F-15EX or Super Hornet, for example, it will be more than enough for most games in War Thunder. For air-to-ground, it still uses the paveway, but it can now carry 7 instead of only 4. It should still be compatible with the Maverick, but Sweden doesn't use them anymore, so it's iffy if it would get them in-game. As of the time of recording this video, Sweden is the only operator that we have in the game that's likely to get the E Gripen, as Brazil is the only other nation operated in real life, and I doubt we will get a Brazilian tree or sub-tree. The Gripen F, just like the B or D, is a two-seater E with the gun removed. Everything else should be the same, at least for War Thunder purposes, and just like with the B and the D, I kinda doubt we get it. The only purpose I can think of for the F is possibly as a rank 9 premium in the far future whenever Gaijin does decide to go ahead and add 5th generation fighters. Finland has selected the F-35 to replace the F-18, and so that will most likely be the rank 10 fighter for the Swedish tree, unless something drastic occurs at Saab in the next few years. Hope y'all enjoyed the video. This was quite a bit easier to make than the Sukhoi video. There are so many Sukhois, I had no idea. Of course, this was done by popular demand, so if you liked it, let me know in the comments down below, and if you'd like to see any other planes. I'm going to put these videos on pause for a little bit and focus on the new patches coming out, but I'll probably restart these next year, most likely around like maybe February or so. Speaking of, if you'd like to see more of these, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you see them if I ever post them again, and I will have more linked at the end. With that out of the way, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll catch y'all next time. Peace, y'all.